to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, operators in the downstream natural gas and crude oil refinery subsector are owing banks 4.71 trillion naira, while operators in the upstream and services subsectors are indebted to banks to the tune of 1.91 trillion naira. According to an analysis of the financial statements of Guarantee Trust Bank, United Bank for Africa, Zenith Bank, EcoBank Nigeria, Fidelity, and Wema Bank, the move has raised banks' exposure to non-performing loans in 2022. The Group Executive Officer, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mele Kyari, says the company will commence the supply of 300,000 barrels of crude oil per day to Dangote Refinery as it begins operations next week. Kyari, who disclosed this at the ongoing 4th Nigerian Oil and Gas Opportunity Fair in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State, also urged all stakeholders to join the Nigerian National Oil Company in growing crude oil and gas production in Nigeria. He said the NNPCL, which had 20% stake in the refinery, is ready to meet its crude supply obligations to the facility, stressing that effort to be geared towards addressing the energy challenges so industrialization can come to the country. The federal government has inaugurated the Advertising Offences Tribunal to deal with violations of the provisions of the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria Act 2022. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who inaugurated the tribunal at a ceremony in Abuja, said the tribunal supports the activities of the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria. The tribunal is empowered to entertain all matters of violations of the provisions of the Act, the Code of Advertising Practice, Standard of Practice, and other subsidiary legislations made pursuant to the Act. The newly inaugurated tribunal is chaired by Justice Cecilia Olatoregun. Other members of the tribunal include Mr. Charles Odenigbo, Mr. Maruf Aileru, Mrs. Julia Okujak, Alhaji Bello Kankarofi, and Mr. Idore Enang. The federal government has urged exporting manufacturers to key into the trade immense benefits of the ECOWAS Trade Liberation Scheme, ETLS. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Zubairu Dada, at a workshop on unhindered market access, noted that the ETLS is a tool for achieving a free trade area. According to him, federal government will ensure that Nigerian companies fully maximize the opportunities of the scheme in the overall interest of the country's economic growth and development. And I'm now being joined with my guest today on the program, as we'll be looking at causes of tomato scarcity and way out. And my guest is an agronomist and a crop farmer. He is Mr. Olatunji Ademola. You're welcome on today's Business Today.
Thank you.
Although Nigeria is the second largest producer of tomato in Africa, and as a matter of fact, exports are really low, what are the challenges facing tomato farming in the country?
Yes, the part of the challenges are that we still operate open fields, that is rainfall agriculture. In developed countries where they produce more than us, they do irrigation and greenhouses. Then the other challenges are pests and disease. When you are operating open fields, it is exposes the crops to the pests and disease attack.
Okay, like you just said, production is beset with many problems such as disease attack, nematodes, insects, pests, even high flower crops. I think is part of the problem. So all this resulted in low yield
and low production.
So what are the various factors responsible for now the productivity? You know, we've talked about these factors.
Yes.
So we still have low productivity.
Yes.
So, and what can be done to prevent low productivity?
Yes, in developed countries, government do assist farmers. And for instance, I just said that we are still operating open fields, whereas open fields is subjected to so many vagaries of weather. like the temperature, the sunlight, the rain, all those factors. They are not controlled. We cannot control them. Then the changes in the climatic situation also affects us. So when you predict, you will be expecting rain, you will be expecting so temperature. It doesn't come that way again. In those days we predict it occurs. For instance, this years now, there was break between March, the last week of March till first week of May. That is about 6 weeks. So those who have planted, they lost all the crops. And that is the resulting effect of what we have in the market in Southwest now. The tomato is gone beyond the home consumption now.
Okay, now why are we having this challenge despite the country's high production? You know, I said it in my introduction that Nigeria produces approximately about 2.11 of the production, percentage of the production. So we still have low yields.
Yes, we will continue.
Is it because we don't have much people in that business, in that farming business?
We have enough.
Tomato.
We are highly populated, and we have labor hands to do the work. But enabling environment is not there. It's like I told you, the tomato pest and disease can make you to lose close to 80% of your production while producing. Because there is a lot of hydrotreated pesticide in the tongue, the condition of the something you cannot predict, the weather. So that is major problem of the farmers. People are interested because it's a money spinning business that one can say, yes, I'm doing business. But the problem is, where is the inputs, right source of inputs, especially the seed, the planting materials, then the chemical, I mean the pesticide we are going to use to treat the disease and pest as they come. So it's a major factor to the production of the tomato.
All right, the program is Business Today, and we are looking at tomato scarcity and way out. We take a break now. When we come back, the program continues. Please don't go away. Yes, glad to have you back. If you are just joining us, wherever you are watching us from on our social media platforms, the program is Business Today, and we are looking at tomato scarcity and way out. So we've talked about pests and other factors affecting production and high yield of tomato. So let's now look at permanent solution to all of this.
Yes, one of the first permanent solution is that we have to get right planting materials, that is the seed. So the resistant one that are resistant to various disease and pests. That is one. Two, water is also a limiting factor to all crops, especially tomato. Tomato contains about 80 to 85% water, Hence, they need a lot of water during their production, during their growth. So that is one of the major factors. So if we can get our farm irrigated, probably we have some little dams across the country, and the farmer have access to that dam, or it makes it a lake. So the water will be available for farmer to use, because we know water is a limit to the crops, including tomatoes. So if we can have enough water, then we have a right source of inputs, that is the pesticides, not the adulterated one, the one that is not fake. So with that, we have the technology, we have the technology, we have the good land, we have good environment, but we need to have all those in place. Every agroecological something areas, there are varieties bred to be planted in those areas. So if we can have that at the right time, so we will not have problem in production again. We can produce enough. We can produce enough, but the problem, mitigating against the production, is part of what I've said. That is water important. Water is very, very essential. Then we need to go ahead to develop our agriculture, to have greenhouses. So in those countries that are producing larger than us, because they have greenhouses. So the greenhouses, you control the environment, you control everything is controllable. Unlike when you are on open fields, or you are waiting for water rain to fall. That's what we are happening. That is what we are practicing in Nigeria. And that is the essence. So why we are not having enough production, enough yield to source. So you are talking about
Okay, let me take it one after the other. You talked about right seed to plant. Yes. So now let's pick it one after the other. What kind of varieties, tomato varieties, is best for planting? That is the one that is disease resistant.
The disease resistance, a lot have been bred by NIHOT. That's an institution that started with the responsibility of giving us right seed. But then there are some that are imported. For instance, in Ondo State, we are planting improved and imported seeds.
The one that yields round.
Yes, that one you are having in the market. So that is what we are planting in Ondo State, and we have tested it. It resists to some extent this disease and pest.
So you talked about the best practices that farmers should adhere to. You've also mentioned the advantages where you talked about the greenhouse and water. So in what way does water come to be more important in this?
Of course, for every living thing, water is most important. And tomato, like I said, contains about 80 to 85% water. So therefore, it needs water to sustain its life. Too
much water too may be also dangerous, don't you think?
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, that is why when you want to select the land you want to use, it has to be well-drained land, well-drained soil that will not allow water to stay on the surface of the soil. If it is well-drained, you give water. If it is irrigated, you regulate the amount of water you give to your plants. But it must be continuous. Every day you must give water to your tomato.
All right, tomato is a delicate fruit, and if not well handled, it can deteriorate within minutes before it gets to the final consumer. So now, even poor storage too is another factor that affects tomatoes. Yes, high, keeping it for a very long time. So how can we now, how can farmers keep them for a very long time, after harvesting, before it gets to the final consumer, even for tomato paste manufacturers too, before it gets to them? Yes. How can farmers preserve this tomato?
Because we are in tropical countries, and tomato is a perishable crop, so we must know that. And for now, we have not been able to have enough storage facilities for tomato because of the water content of the tomato. It's a deteriorating factor. So the tomato now, of course, we are yet to produce enough for our consumption, and usually we lost a lot of during transportation from the farm to the market to the end user of tomato. However, we need good roads to these farmlands, so that when we harvest, we can take to the factory directly or to the market. For instance, the tomatoes we have now, the varieties we have, cannot last more than 14 days, 2 weeks, before getting deteriorated. In the temperate region where tomato is grown very well, because of the temperature, the very cold temperature, tomato will keep and we store well because of the temperature. So, but we are having fluctuating temperature and environmental factors here, and it is not controlled. So if it is not controlled, there's no way you can keep your tomato, except you take it from the farm to the factory and processed to puree, paste, juice, all of that.
So with all these challenges now, or let me say with all these factors now, where do you see our manufacturing companies, talking about tomato paste manufacturing companies, in the near future?
Yes, we continue to advocate for more farmers and more improved varieties, because the current situation now is that we are unable to feed the companies, the processing companies. We are yet to be able to satisfy their demand. So, and this as a result of what I have said, that the pest infestation and weather changes all the time, not predictable. So, however, we can go ahead if cooperative farmers, they gather together, they seek loan and start looking at greenhouses. It is very, very effective. And tomatoes from greenhouses can last for 30 days without getting spoiled. But the open one, open feed is not. It's maximum 14 days. So the best bet, the ultimate is to go for greenhouses. And if we are doing that of open feed, there must be inroads, inlet roads to the to the farms directly, then transportation from the farms to the end users. So that will save. But because we are in temperate and we are in tropical countries, we continue to have that problem, except cool houses, cool room can be given, so that where we control the temperature, so that it will not, the tomato will not deteriorate. Because water in the tomato is agent of pest infestation. It allows the insects, especially, and disease, to infest the fruits.
In all of this now, where do you think government or well-meaning Nigerians or well-meaning individuals can come in?
Yes, we have said it.
The
government can assist. Yes, the government can assist the farmers first by giving them small dams at their locality, so there won't be water problem. So they won't be waiting for rains to come. Then they should give us road to these farms. So beside that, then we continue to educate through ADP, that is Agricultural Development Project, through their extension staff, to continue going to the farmers on the field and give them the latest best practices on the field, because it's a dynamic crop. It's a dynamic agriculture. It's dynamic, so it changes with time. So these latest innovations has to go to the farmer. Then the issue of the well-meaning Nigerians that are rich, they should think of going to the farming, assisting farmers, giving them soft loans. For instance, that of greenhouse, I've said it will not cost much, and something can last for so many years, and it will make a change. A great change will come. But if we are the way we are doing the farming system, if we continue to do that, we continue to be importing foods, despite the resources we have that can make us to produce enough for our teeming population.
Mr. Olasuji, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on business today. That's the size of the show today. Thank you so much for being part of today's edition. Next week is another time, God's willing. Bye-bye.
be